I'm Joe Olinger. I'm here with my dad, John Olinger, to ask him a few questions about his service. All right. So first off, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Golden Valley, Minnesota.
Golden Valley. Who were your parents, and what did they do?
My dad was John Olinger, he's got the same name as I do, and Barb Olinger. They were born in Wisconsin. And my dad worked for Minigasco, which is a gas company. He was in the radio department. My mom was a homemaker.
So did your dad have any military service?
My dad was in the Navy back in the Korean War.
Oh, okay. So what did he do while in the Navy?
He was in ships.
In ship. So do you have any siblings?
I have five siblings. I'm the only one that has any military experience.
Oh, okay. But you have a nephew that is in the Navy too.
I have a nephew that was in the Navy.
All right. So how did you get involved in the armed forces?
For me, it was a good way to get away from home. I didn't want to go to college. I didn't like school and I didn't do well in it. And it was a good way out.
Okay. So a way to get away from the family and.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So how old were you when you
I was 17.
You're 17. So younger than I am.
Yes. I went into the military. I actually signed up in my last year of high school, midway through in December. So I was actually 17 years and 2 months old when I signed up.
Wow.
I was 17 and a half when I went into basic training in June.
So what were you doing prior to joining the armed forces?
It was high school.
Just high school? No.
Well, I was in a work program. I went to school half a day, work half a day, because I didn't like high school.
Oh, okay. What was your assigned job in the military?
As an aircraft mechanic. Jet engines over 4. So any airplane that had over 4 jet engines, I worked on.
Okay. So specifically?
Specifically, in my first tour, I was in the Strategic Air Command, SAC. I worked on B-52 bombers, and I worked on KC-135s, the tankers,
Okay.
and EC-135s at Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota.
Oh, cool.
I went in 1976. I signed up in 75, in December of 75, and I went in 6 days out of high school to basic training.
Jeez. So what was an average day like?
Go to work would be on the flight line, and I just babysat airplanes. I was a crew chief for my first tour in Ellsworth, South Dakota, so one of the airplanes was mine.
Okay.
And I was responsible for having it repaired. And then my second air base, I moved from Ellsworth, South Dakota to Elmendorf, Alaska, and went from the SAC, Strategic Air Command, to the Military Airlift Command, MAC. And I worked on C-141s, C-130s, and C-5s.
Okay. Cool. So could you tell me one short story? It could be like fun, serious, anything that your experiences.
Well, I mean, near the end of my tour, I'd stayed 5 years in the military.
Mm-hmm.
I was in not in the control tower, but in the control room. So my job was to talk with all of the incoming pilots and tell them where to land.
Okay.
And because it was a controlled environment, I was able to wear a gun, but I was not allowed to shoot it unless I asked my supervisor if I could shoot it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I did never shoot my weapon.
Okay. Sure.
Along with chasing the moose off the flight line, those were probably the best memories.
That's awesome. So, what was the most difficult part of your time there?
Submission to authority.
Okay.
I was pretty young, and I was fairly immature, and a lot. I didn't understand a lot, and so many times when they gave me orders, I wasn't very good at taking orders real well. And you need to have a certain personality in the military. You have to be submissive to authority.
Mm-hmm. So, what are like I don't really know how I could really phrase this question. So like, what are like history books and political commentaries leaving out? Like how like the propaganda to get you into the army is just like, oh, it'll be fun and everything. Was that did that
Nah,
have any?
I didn't look at any of that.
Okay.
I was just trying to figure out a way to do something that would not leave me nowhere.
Okay.
And I don't think the history books are leaving anything out, except there's just a bunch of immature kids in the military.
Mm-hmm.
You got your hands. Yeah, I mean, these are multi-million-dollar airplanes. I was 18 years old.
Okay. And
I was in charge of the airplane and people's lives.
yeah.
I look back now and it's pretty scary, but
Mm-hmm.
at the time I didn't think anything about it.
So, what did you do to break the boredom and monotony of it all?
Drank a lot. There was a lot of drugs there too
Oh, well,
in the military. That was my group.
Oh.
I don't know what the other guys did. I also had a four-wheel drive, and in South Dakota, we would four-wheel drive out in the Badlands.
Wow.
Right? Make our own beer in the dorm and go four-wheel drive in the Badlands. That never really ended well.
Oh, it doesn't sound like it.
No.
All right, well, I suppose that's all the questions I have. Thank you. That was very informative.